Howdy doody! Welcome back to the ranch. My name is Mick. This behind me is my brand new, to me, 2004 Case CX130 excavator. This one has been a long time coming. If you are a regular viewer of the channel, I referenced buying this machine over a year ago, I would say. Fingers crossed, I'm actually talking to my boss at the moment about buying something off of him. I don't know if it's gonna be in the budget, but we're gonna try. Yeah, I think it was over a year ago. We were cleaning up this property, and I mentioned that I was looking to buy a piece of machinery off of him. Well, this is it. Typically when I'm buying a piece of machinery and showing you guys, it's something that I picked up for really cheap at auction and I know nothing about it. Typically it needs work. Well, really, in essence, needs nothing. And I figured since I don't necessarily need to get this thing running for the first time in 5 years or something along those lines, I'll take you through what I look at, or what you should look at, in my opinion, prior to making a large investment like this on a used excavator. So I'll take you through my list of what to look for, and then later on in the video I'll tell you what I paid for it, as well as we're going to put this thing to work. So we finally struck a deal on it. I no longer work there as of recently. Just a couple months ago, I was there at that company for the better part of 10 years. It was almost 10 years there. So he did a lot of good things for me and continues to do so. We remain friends, you know, no hard feelings type situation. I just had the opportunity to go out and venture out on my own, and that's what I'm doing. But as a parting gift, he finally struck a deal with me on this thing. I'll go through what I paid for it here shortly, but this is a different type of video for me. First and foremost, what do I know about this thing? Again, in not so typical fashion, I know a good amount. Not a whole lot, but I know a good amount. Like I said, it's a 2004 Case CX130. That puts it as a mid-size excavator. Should be in the neighborhood of 30,000 pounds, which leads me to my first point about buying a used excavator. You know, if you're a small peanuts type of person like me and you need one equipment to do a wide variety of things, you want to have the right size. You know, you could go all the way from mini, like a 35 size or 55 size, which is something that you could just throw on a 14,000 pound equipment trailer. Or you can have something like this, a mid-size that you don't need permits to haul, you don't need a low boy to haul. Quite frankly, I had this one delivered, which is why I missed out on having a scene of me bringing this home. But this is a machine that I can haul around with my Peterbilt with the coffin drop deck over there perfectly comfortably. Perfectly comfortably. The other thing is it'll fit in smaller spaces than a bigger size machine. The footprint isn't as heavy, so you're not going to sink in soft conditions. There's a lot of upsides with this size machine, making it a sought after size. They go for a good amount of money. They hold their value well. You can get up into the 200 plus size machines, 300, 400 size machines where you need permits to haul, and it makes it a pain to move around if it's not just staying on your property. And those machines typically go for less money because they're a hassle. Now, if you're a big enough outfit like who I worked for, where this came from, you have the means of moving it and you have the need to move a good amount of dirt, then, you know, those bigger machines are more valuable to you. Another note is bigger machine means bigger repairs. This will be manageable for me. If something does break, I do have the means of of lifting things off or repairing things with my other equipment. So at this point, let's start going through what you should look for. I would say, and obviously so, the first thing you should be doing is, well, looking at it, seeing what the machine looks like on the surface. Although that's not always going to be a telltale of how the machine was taken care of, because you'll notice things as you start to look at this particular machine. It's a little rough around the edges. That will give you a good idea on how it was maintained, how it was taken care of. You know, was this like a demo machine, or was it just a machine that was baling dirt all day? In this case, it was just a machine that was baling dirt all day. So aside from the appearance, you get into where did it come from, the pedigree, as I like to say. And the nice thing about this particular machine for me is I know the pedigree. I know where this came from. I know how it was maintained. It originally started at Columbia Topsoil. This machine was generally used for moving topsoil on one site. They have auxiliary hydraulic functions hooked up for a screening bucket that came with this machine. I do not have that screening bucket. The deal was with my boss that he was going to keep that thing and then let me use it whenever I needed it. I will be needing it because I do have dirt to screen topsoil with. But that's what this thing did. It had a screening bucket on it, and they just scooped topsoil, screened it, and loaded it out on trucks or moved it around the site. And that's what this thing did for the majority of its life until my boss bought it. And you've seen his equipment around my property, and on some of his properties, he has big and new and pretty machines. So this didn't fit the bill for you know, his brand. You know, putting this on a job site wouldn't look too great, and he didn't need it for that reason either. So he kept this where back in the day I used to store my equipment. What he used it for was cleaning out a dumping pit for hydrovacs to dump their material into, and he would clean them out, which is why the ditch bucket on this machine has 2 holes blown in it in the back of it, because it would just sit there and scoop out a slurry all day, essentially, when they were cleaning out that pit. And this would allow the water to drain out of the back of the bucket. I might weld those back in. I'll have to see kind of how this ditch bucket acts with dirt in it, if I have dirt falling out of the back, but it really shouldn't. Getting back to the pedigree of the machine, you know, in my case, I know the history, I know how it was maintained. In your case, it could be possible, if you don't know where it came from, see if the name of the company is still on the side of the machine. If it is, then that could be a good thing in itself. They might not be ashamed that the machine was theirs. They might not be trying to hide their name, and you can try and find out if they were the single owner of the machine, or if it's been through 4 or 5 owners. See if you could find service records. I bought a machine at auction recently, and I was able to go back to the cat dealer, and they had every single service record since the machine was sold at their facility. If you can, it's nice to know the history, the maintenance history, especially when you get into higher hours. I can't remember how many hours are on this thing, but not too many for the year. I think it's about 6,000 hours or so. If you look at the paint, is it the original paint? Has the whole thing been bombed out with paint to hide the rough past of the machine? Take a look at the boom arm assembly and your stick and everything, and look for weld repairs or cracks in the steel. That is something that you definitely don't want to deal with, because you never know if it is repaired, if it was done correctly, and straight and plumb. You know, those are all things that can really affect the machine for strain with how it's working if things aren't right. Take a look at your pins and cylinders from the outside. Are your cylinders leaking? In this case, I do have one that is leaking, that will need sealed up. But again, getting back to the size of the machine, it's a small enough cylinder where I should be able to handle it with my equipment and my tooling that I'm geared up for, where I should be able to repair that cylinder. Shouldn't have jinxed myself just then, but you know. Look for dings and dents around the cab and house. See if there's steps that are all dented and banged in. In this case, when you start looking at this particular cab, you might start to turn the other way, but you know, that's also kind of how I was able to afford this machine, is it doesn't look the best. For instance, this machine comes with a quick coupler, which is another big note. Does the machine that you're buying have a quick coupler? Because if you're doing it by hand, it is possible, and it is, you know, there's nothing really wrong with it, especially if you only have one attachment or one bucket for it. But it is nice to have a quick coupler. The downside with this particular machine, the quick coupler makes the stick long enough to come all the way back and hit the cab. And that has happened, I'm assuming, more than once on this machine, because this cab is wrecked. Nothing is straight. The windows don't sit in properly. I can't lift my front glass here and put it over top of me like you're supposed to, because the tracks are off. There's holes in the steel from the quick coupler hitting it, or the bucket hitting it, I should say. With some modern machines, you can avoid that, because the modern machines have sensors where if you get too close, it'll send an alarm in your cab and tell you that you're running close to the cab. This one is old enough where you don't have that luxury, so it's pretty common with these old case machines to see their cab like this, and that is something that I'm definitely going to look into fixing. So like I said, I mean, yeah, I don't have to do any work to start running this thing, but I do have projects in the future lined up for this. One of them is either stripping this cab completely off and finding a parts machine for a new used cab, or I will do my best to straighten this out. Is that Bondo? Oh yeah, big time Bondo repair. Oh man, yeah, that'll do it. Look at all that mud in there, like a ½ an inch. So anyway, I'd like to fix this cab up so I can use it as intended, flipping my door up and not freezing myself out in the winter. It does have cab heat, but when I don't have a foot window in, there's a piece of plexiglass in there. But like I said, it would just be nice to fix that cab up nice and paint her up and actually have this thing looking pretty for me, because I intend on keeping this machine, quite frankly, for my lifetime. I mean, unless I make it big doing excavation work and I have the need to buy a new machine, this thing will do the thing for me for a very long time. Quick note too on, like I said, the quick coupler and the buckets and attachments. That is something that you want to keep in mind too. There is a lot of value there if you're buying something with multiple attachments. If you go and buy a machine at auction, you typically will end up with one bucket, whatever is on it. Rarely will you see a ditching bucket, like a clean out bucket on a machine, or that comes with the machine. Those are typically sold separately. Sometimes you can find them in the same auction, but it's almost always a separate lot. So you have to, one, secure the machine, and then roll the dice on overpaying for a bucket that doesn't come with it, you know. The nice part about making this deal with my boss was he sent me with 3 buckets. It looks like I got a 2-foot digging bucket, a 4-foot-ish digging bucket, might be 4 feet, might be a little bit smaller, and then it looks like about a 5-foot ditch bucket or clean out bucket back there that just has the smooth cutting edge. I will find a use for all 3 buckets in different situations, so I'm happy to have the buckets. You can get up to, you know, spending, depending on the size of the machine, you could be spending $1,000, $2,000 on a bucket. And that's, you know, assuming you're going to find one that has the correct pin layout for your specific machine. You can also look at what attachments is a thumb on it, which I would love to have a thumb on this machine one day. I definitely will do that. You know, was the machine used as like a rock hammer setup? That beats the crap out of a machine too. So just things to note for sure. Moving on to undercarriage. With excavators, typically you'll have a different type of grouser pad than like a dozer. This specific one, each pad has 3 grousers on it, so it's going to be a real small grouser rather than a really aggressive tall one. These are called street pads, you know, so you should be able to track this down an asphalt street or concrete street and cause minimal damage. You'll still see scuffing. To avoid that, you get a rubber street pad. which are terrible in the snow, so I was definitely more so in the market for a setup like this. You're gonna wanna come down here and check out your undercarriage assembly, pick out any asphalt milling blocks that are wedged in between here. Yep. The whole lot that this thing came out of was asphalt millings, you know, just like my property. You know, check out your idler pulleys, see what, you know, kind of wear is going on there. If they're way extended out, like over center to the end here, that means you're probably at the end of your life, your actual tracks. This one seems to have a lot of life left in it. You can look at your chain and see what kind of shape your chain is down there, which this one, again, has a lot of life left. Run back to your final drives. Note the type of final drive that is in your equipment. If you have replaceable parts that you can find, check out your sprockets. You know, these definitely have some hours on them. They're worn, but they might be 50% life. I'll never have to replace those. As kind of a quick test before you fire this thing up and track it, you can jump up on the track assembly and rock back and forth and see what kind of wear you have in your chain. There is some wear to this one, but it's not clapped out. You know, it's not worn enough where I need to worry about replacing anything. You could see that my grease cylinders that are pushing the assembly out are holding, so there's not a whole bunch of slack in here. So that's all good. And we can look into a little bit more of the undercarriage once you fire it up and track it around. So climbing up on the machine here, again, I noted something like this is something to look out for. It's just, you know, that was a step, but must have whacked something at some point. This should just be a toolbox in here. Yeah, empty and clean, that's fine. Good thing to note while you're starting to climb up here is, you know, is it caked with leaves and grime and dirt down here with all these hydraulic hoses, or is it clean? It's a good way to start a fire is by having leaves and crap packed into here. Take a look at all your hydraulic hoses, see what kind of shape they're in. You know, these are good, they have protectors on them. All your greased joints and see if there's grease in them. I definitely need to grease this thing. But everything looks to be in decent shape. All my hoses up here aren't cracked and brittle. They all look pretty good. Jump up here, look at your roof, see if you are going to expect any leaks in the cab, which this one looks to be sealed up nice. I might lay on this for a second. It's nice and warm from the sun. And under this panel is going to be our engine. One thing that you'll notice right away. One thing that you'll notice right away is the gaping hole in the exhaust. I do have the exhaust tip in the cab, so that'll be something that I'm going to want to jump on immediately, is getting a weld repair done there, getting the tip welded back on so I'm not letting water in. The nice part about this is there's a hole clear through the bottom, so at least the water that's coming in is going to drain back out that hole and not into the engine. But I'd still like to get that repaired as soon as possible. As soon as possible. So here you have it, 4BT Cummins. You could tell that it's a 4BT because the way it is. That is a 4B Cummins, and the T is right here, the turbo. Go ahead and check the oil on it. It is to the full mark, nice and black. No water intrusion in there or coolant that I can see. Again, just note, everything looks clean. The turbo isn't spewing oil anywhere. The valve covers are holding tight. You know, as far as like exterior oil and gunk and debris coming from the engine, it's all dry. And that is something that speaks volumes to how something was maintained. So anyway, this all looks good. Let's close her up and we'll see if we can jump in the cab and fire this thing up. I guess I could have left that open to check the antifreeze, but it did have an overflow bottle down below that I saw, and it did have coolant right to the correct line. I guess while I'm here, I can take a look, give this a sniff. Smells like diesel. Smells clean. Little strainer catch here that has my fuel sending unit on there. That's all very clean. The one nice part about where I used to work and the guys that would maintain the equipment, the lead mechanic was actually the owner's brother, and he's very meticulous, and he will hurt you if you do something stupid to the machines. So that also speaks volumes. You know, who was servicing the equipment? What were they like? Did they actually care about their job and the equipment that they were working on? And he did. Almost too much. I was also just with him yesterday, actually, and I asked him for whatever service records he had on this thing, and he said, not much, but I'll give you what I got. I said, all right, thanks. Like I said, they use this thing so rarely that he probably just did one service to it, and that's, you know, I can't imagine they put more than 100 hours on this thing since they bought it years ago. Take a look at your cab. Is it clean? This one is meh, clean enough. Look for mouse droppings and things of that nature. This one definitely had mice in it. I've seen, you know, because it is open because of the state of the cab. But you can also take a look at the seat, see if the operators were smokers, which they were. Original seat. Still has the case logo on it. This is the original seat, and it's in this kind of shape. You know, you're doing pretty good. Here's the exhaust tip I was talking about. We'll deal with that later. Jumping up in here, it's got a radio, which is cool. This is for the quick coupler. It's got heat. I don't know if it has AC or not. It says it has AC down there, so that's cool. I don't know if it works. And just take a seat. Here's the damage from the inside. You can see, you know, plastic's pretty cracked up. They tried getting it weather tight probably in the winters, you know, with this weather tape. You can see how the track's bent in there. I'm gonna have to do my best to straighten this all out and do some welding repairs if I ever want to get this front door open, which I would like to, so we'll definitely look into that. But yeah, with all that said, I say we go ahead and fire this thing up, see if we can track it onto dry land, and then we can take a look at you know, the actual state of pins and bushings and swing motor and final drives, all that kind of thing. Flip the key on. 6,200 hours, which for an 04 ain't all that bad. Everything on my screen shows fine, says service due. Throttle it up a little bit. There we go. 4BT, man. She'll run. Batteries are strong, cranks it over real quick. Granted, it's chilly, but it's not too cold. I'd be curious to see how this thing starts in the summer, when it's hot, and when it's bitter cold. I'm gonna let it sit here and just warm up for a little bit before I do much, but I'll go ahead and move these buckets out of my way and just track up onto flat ground up there. Showing 3/4 of a tank of fuel. I'm sure that's a good amount of fuel in there too, so that's good. Just worth noting. Let's see, I think this thing's in John Deere. It is. God, I was running a little Kubota the other day, and it was stuck in CAT or ISO or whatever, and I was having a heck of a time operating that thing. You got to move slow. To me, John Deere or backhoe control is what I learned from the get-go, so that was, you know, what my first machine was set up in, so that's how I learned, and golly, it's hard doing it the other way. It's like trying to write left-handed. So just real quick while we're sitting here, I'll show you how easy it is to hit the cab with this thing. Yep. Especially with a wider bucket too. That'll crush your cab. Let's track forward. The real nice thing about these old case machines or Kobelco machines, essentially are the same thing. They track really quick. Oh, that is a heck of a reach. I am so excited to have this thing. So just to note, while we're sitting here, you can see there's a good amount of gap in between my chain and the bottom of the rollers here. That might need to be tightened up a little bit, but I don't know, I'll have to see what's the spec on it. I'm not sure. You can also check how your track's rolling with it up in the air like this. Everything's nice and smooth. You can listen for grinding, which this one doesn't have any grinding going on. Go ahead and flip over to the other side here. While I'm swinging, I'm looking for my swing brake, which works. I'm also listening for grinding on my turntable. Go ahead and throw my bucket down. Flip this side up. See how this is going. And also go ahead and lift up my turntable and see what kind of play I have there. So you can kind of throw a camera down there and see, you know, everything feels tight. I don't know because I'm not looking at it. So at this point I can also check out my pins, see how those are. I'm seeing some slop in them, you know. I can tell just by moving it around. If you kind of jerk to the left or right, you can see your bucket move. Extend your bucket all the way out. You can see your slop from that way as well, like up at this knuckle here. There isn't much up there, so that's good. I know it's not great to see down there, but I'm also going to look at, you know, if I put pressure down here, what kind of slop is in those pins. Doesn't look like much of any at all, which is nice. As we're doing all this, I'm taking a look at my gauges, seeing if we're coming up to temperature, which so far we aren't. Which I know these gauges work, so that just means that it's going to take a while. Well, there you have it. That is essentially what I would say you need to look out for while purchasing a used excavator. Now, there's more to it, obviously. This thing is good to work, but it needs work. Essentially, I got this main cylinder here is definitely leaking. I know it is because, well, looking at this area, I see hydraulic fluid dripping down, so.
Are you sure about that?
If I really want to get carried away, this pin right here has some slop to it, so I could take the liberty of working on that and getting it tighter. Is that something that I really need to do for my use of this machine? Probably not. Maybe one day, but I have plenty of things that I need to work on that would definitely take precedent over that. So I am tickled pink with this thing. I am so excited to use it, and we are going to get ready to use it here. Right now I'm warming it up so I can throw it on that dirt pile and start hauling some dirt out of here. But I promised you guys that I would share with you what I spent on this machine, and that number is $22,000. Now, go easy on me, because I know there's people out there that'll say that I got ripped off. There will be people out there that will say that I got the best deal since sliced bread, or whatever.
What?
That's saying it. $22,000, but you got to keep in mind a couple things. One, I am making payments on this machine. I didn't buy it outright. I made a deal with my boss to pay it off in sizable payments. That's figured into it. You know, he has some interest in there, as well as I get 2 shipments for this machine. He's going to haul it for me here, and then to another property that I need to bring the machine to here soon, as well as the 3 buckets with the machine. Again, we'll call it $1,000 a bucket. I think, you know, if you're going to find this machine at auction, 1, you don't know the pedigree of it. 2, you probably will only get 1 bucket with it, and you're probably going to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 for it. I spent $22,000. I know the lifetime history of this thing. It's a well-maintained machine, relatively low hours for the year, and I get 3 buckets. I think, 1, I got a good enough deal where I don't feel bad buying it off of a guy that I have, you know, a soft spot for, someone that I have a good relationship with. but two, I think I got a good enough deal where I wouldn't have been able to find something like this anywhere else. So like I said, I'm tickled pink, super happy with this thing, really looking forward to using it. But without further ado, let's throw this thing into a dirt pile. We got to fire up old St. Nick over here, get him warming up. And I got a big old pile of garbage right here. We're going to be loading it out onto a parcel of this property that can hold some garbage, so I don't have to look at it. All right, if you're not familiar, this is my International S1840, 50, something like that. I can't even remember. I call her St. Nick because it's red and green. Hello?
Hello.
It's got a DT 466 in it. Old, reliable single axle for me. I haven't ran it since the beginning of winter, I think, so definitely got to check the oil on it. And I don't know if I left the batteries hooked up. Ah, smells good. About half full. I should probably fill that up a little bit, but it's in the safe range, so we're gonna run it. Let's see if she'll go. Keys are in it. Could have robbed me. Come on, baby. Be good to me. The starter was definitely not happy about that one, but hey, she's running as she always does. I've said it a million times, I love that truck. One of my first pieces of equipment that I ever bought for myself, and she is definitely a standby. Do me right. I'll let her warm up. In the meantime, I'm gonna track the old case over here. I gotta find a name for that thing. Part of my sentimental being wants to name it Kevin. That's my boss's name, and I think that's a funny name for a piece of equipment. Kevin the excavator. But let's go ahead, track that thing up onto this mound, start hauling her away. I got my coffee with me, and I just realized this danged old thing don't have no cup holder in it. What operator doesn't have a coffee cup with him when he's operating? Or she. Ain't no sense in keeping this tape here. I don't think it's doing much of anything anyway. The guy at the shop that would mainly operate this thing to clean out the mud pit, he said, you know, it sucks that the door won't open. I don't think it won't open. I just want to see how far off it really is. Pretty bent up, and it looks like there should be a wheel on it, and there's catches in the back. The whole cab definitely needs to go out in the middle and in up top, so I'm not gonna mess with it right now, but we'll have to address it at some point. I'm gonna have to clear out a little bit of this dirt first. Give myself a steady base to sit on up there. Problem with this pile, if you're not familiar, this whole pile here is just garbage fill. It's essentially a little bit of dirt mixed in with a lot of garbage. It's like block and plastics, pipe, and chairs. I don't really know what I'm gonna find in here, but I want to get it out of here because it's an eyesore. It's right as you're crossing over my creek there from my house. First thing you see is a garbage pile. Let's see if we can track up here. Feel bad about that tree. It's one of those trees that attract those invasive bugs, whatever they're called, lantern flies or whatever. So now that I'm up here, another note on, if you can, before you buy something, take a scoop and see how it strains the engine, you know, are your hydraulics strong? So that's a full bucket there, and she's handling it no problem. Here's the pile I'm sitting on. This is what I was talking about down here. Sinks into a deceiving little hole. The end of the pile is right here. And then on this side, kind of mounds up. And on this side, it's just wasteland of old precast materials, some concrete pipe broken up, some catch basins over there, an old tree. So I'd like to get this main portion, couldn't see my hand there, this main portion here that sweeps around here out, and then that concrete down there I'd like to kind of move around and get into a pile, maybe dig a little borrow pit and bury the concrete so I don't have to look at it. That's the plan anyway. Unfortunately, with how rough this pile is, it's not one clean mound. It's pretty whoop-de-doop-de up and down. So I got to be really careful with where I'm tracking so I don't tip the thing over on the first day that I own it. Let's get to loading. Now, although I did run this machine once for a brief time, I do need to get used to it. It's still a new machine to me, you know. I'm gonna call it there. I'll meet you guys at the other camera. All right, well, there you have it. I am debating on, I'm gonna keep chugging along in this pile. I'm running out of daylight and I got other things that I need to do before the sun goes down, per usual. But I'm debating on like recording me just moving dirt. I don't know if you guys really have an interest in watching something like that, because there's not much to record. It's just me sitting up there bailing it into the truck and moving it. And I think for now I'll just kind of, before I close this video out, just show you the end result. But let me know in the comments if it's something that you would like to just sit there on time lapse and watch me bale dirt on a little bit of Gertie beats going on in the background and get some music going for you guys. Let me know, because I never know, I know, I don't know. Anyway, this thing's running great. It is awesome. I am a little spoiled with using newer equipment where it's just a little bit more responsive, a little quicker, but man, for what I need this for and what I can afford and what I got it for, I am more than happy with this thing. So it's going good. I'm gonna wrap this up. It'll probably take me a whole nother day of moving dirt, and I'll have a clear backyard. It'll look a lot better back here, especially when the spring really pops and we start getting green. It'll look good. So I'll keep you guys posted. See you tomorrow. All right, well, this is, I'm not gonna say finished, but good enough for me. So we're calling it here. This is where that pile of garbage used to be. I decided to leave some grade to it. You could see some grass over here, so I followed that little hill right there. It's old fill, but I followed that grade there just to leave me some sort of grade back here. So the machine did great, but let's just look at this first. So about right here is where the garbage pile used to be. You can kind of see that line. Again, I left some fill. There's still some garbage in here that if you really look, but the far majority is loaded out and gone. At the top of what I established here, this was kind of like the backside of the existing hill, and then I filled all this back here. So essentially where these twigs are right here are where those old catch basins and manholes were. There's still one tucked behind that tree, but that's a healthy little tree there, so I didn't want to disturb it and bury the tree. Still some old concrete pipe back here. At some point you just gotta end it. If I were to take every job on this property and finish it, I would be here for years. So I'm happy with it. I kind of slicked up the area here with tracks that aren't that, but you'll see that machine soon. If you follow me on Instagram, you might know what machine it is, but I'll be releasing a video on that really soon after this one, I think. But anyway, that's the end of the project there. But speaking of the machine, it did great. Flawless. I did notice, I was mentioning at the end of the day yesterday that I was like, it's a little slow, but it works really well. That was my fault. There was the work mode on the machine. You can set a slow, medium, or high pace. After I flipped it into the high gear, she moved as quick as I'll ever need it to. So you will definitely be seeing a lot more of this machine. I have future projects that I'm going to be working with this machine on, but I'm also going to be cleaning this thing up and really making it mine. Now that it's not just considered an old yard machine that just sits around and gets dirty, I'm going to clean this thing up, scrape off the old decals, and give her an old polish. I bet you she'll shine just like brand new. The cab is a different story. We're going to have to put a good amount of work into that. Anyway, that is going to bring this one to a close. That is what I'm looking for, in my opinion, when looking for a used excavator.
That's my opinion!
Do I think this is going to be the end-all be-all, the last machine that I ever buy? No, but I plan on keeping this thing for the long haul. If I'm getting another machine, it's either going to be bigger or smaller, but I have big plans.
I have concepts of a plan.
Big projects that I'm going to be putting this thing to use on, so stick around. If you like the video, please do me a favor by liking the video, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. If you want to follow me outside of YouTube, I post on Instagram, Facebook, and the TikTokies. But that'll wrap this one up, so I will see you on the next one, but always remember, don't be afraid to grab that wrench and get after yourself. See you next time.